her mind.
Not the most notable one that she made this year, but the one that I want to talk about the most because I loved it is The Detective's Dog.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna. Okay, all right.
The Detective. I mean, from the title already, you know it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think this is like the first movie that you watched from this year. You just jumped on it. You're like, The Detective's Dog? Oh my
god. Is great. I was reading about how it's sort of it's about a detective who brings home a dog to his daughter, but then is tracking a criminal and falls into a dungeon, and so needs to get rescued by the dog. The whole being saved by a dog genre was already pretty played out. Or was like a well-established, like there were lots of movies about dogs saving people at this point.
Rescued by Rover being probably the biggest one.
Yeah. So I think it's funny that I was looking up like how it was received at the time, and even then people were like, all right, this again. But this is my favorite one. Just because there's so many details to it that I love it so much. So the detective is Detective Harper. We know that he is kind of a badass because he brings home dogs to his kids and also carries 2 revolvers. The criminal that he's after is the no good Richard Toole, which is a great villain name. He falls into a dungeon. He gets tied up on a table saw, so that he's
slowly drifting toward the table saw.
That Richard Toole just like ties him up to this thing and is like, all right, bye, I'm gonna leave, while you very slowly get pulled towards the saw blade.
I feel like that's heightened in such an Elise Guy way, you know?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the actual ending of this movie is cut off. It ends right after the detective's dog saves him. There was a longer ending, but it was just them calling the police to catch Richard Toole. It wasn't like him teaming up with the dog to catch Richard Toole, which is
too bad.
Pretty disappointing. But because that wasn't in there, now that just played out in my head, so it's fine. The thing that I think really stuck out the most about this is the casting. It uses all of like the Elise Guy Blaché players that she casts in almost all of her movies, but for whatever reason, this one they really like hit their roles really well. The guy playing Richard Toole is just like perfectly kind of shifty and like sneaky looking.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. It was great. There's a great moment of silent movie acting where the detective's wife shouts, "The dog!" And you can't hear what she's saying, but because she's shouting it, it's so obvious that she's just shouting, "The dog!" Also, I couldn't find that anywhere. I think it's lost. There was a sequel to this movie called Saved by a Cat.
Oh my God.
Detective Harper returns to be easily captured by criminals once again. Only this time, he gets saved by a cat.
Amazing. Wow.
In that one, apparently he gets, instead of falling into a dungeon, he gets locked into a room with automatic doors that fills up with gas that knocks him out. Like, so much work went into these wild detective being saved by animal movies.
Yeah, this very confident detective who just
immediately gets incapacitated in some way and needs a pet to save him.
This is also another movie where some wife is like psychically knows that her husband is in trouble, which I believe was in was that in The Nihilist? I mean, like a Wallace McCutcheon movie. It was also in that there was like a Western from a few years ago.
Yeah, that is also a weird recurring thing in a lot of these old movies.
I mean, I think like, you know, their storytelling is still getting there, and they realize that they can't just have they don't realize yet they can't just have someone go, he must be in trouble.
Right.
You know?
Married couples do not have a psychic link necessarily.